All right, here we go. So this is the untold story of the big, beautiful bill. Is Charlie Kirk still MAGA?
Here live at the Bitcoin.com studio. That is the Bitcoin.com studio. Joining
Yes, the currency for human traffickers.
us now is an old
And drug dealers and gun runners.
friend and a great patriot. We might not agree on everything, but boy, he is incredibly principled, and for that, I deeply admire him. It is Senator Rand Paul from the great state of Kentucky. Senator, great to see you today. Thank you for the time.
The world's most well-known carpetbagger.
Hey.
Also, I know people are reacting to his hair.
Oh, nice marmot.
But it seems particularly marmoty today.
Charlie, thanks for having me.
So, Senator, the
Charlie,
news
thanks
of
for
the
having
day
me.
is that in some ways you found yourself on the other side of this big, beautiful bill from the White House.
And on the same side as Elon Musk, if he has a side at all, because he's come crawling back, but not quite, and we don't know when, blah, blah, blah.
You know, I've heard a lot of the feedback from yourself and from Senator Ron Johnson, and I totally agree that we need to get closer to a balanced budget, and just this addiction to spending
But,
must end. Simultaneously, there's some really
simultaneously, that's a way to get around saying but.
good points that were made by the White House. We had a long conversation with Stephen Miller. I wanted to give you a fair amount of time to make your case. Where do you currently stand on the big, beautiful bill, and what would potentially get you to a yes?
You know, I support quite a bit of what's in the bill. The tax cuts is the primary aspect of the bill. I voted for them in 2017. I support making them permanent. I accept the argument that if you lower tax rates, sometimes you get more revenue. This is what Art Laffer argued
Sometimes.
in the 1980s and still argues. So I'm fine with the tax cut as is. I'm fine
Yes, the Laffer curve. Voodoo
with
economics.
adding to the tax cuts as President Trump wishes. So I'm fine with that
President, sure.
aspect of the bill. And that's a big bulk of the bill that will lead to growth. It's what led to low unemployment rates in the first administration and really was a great boon to our country. The second part of it, there are some spending cuts. I think many of these spending
Here's Ron Johnson with, he's just taken the pages out of the bill that he has a problem with.
cuts are good. I think a lot of them are in the outlying years and may or may not happen. Some
Friday Joe, you were absolutely right about Beck.
of
Yeah.
them are fake, such as forgiving the student loan forgiveness program or ending the student loan forgiveness program, which the courts have already ended. So it's sort of saying, oh, we're going to save money by something Biden was going to do, but the courts have said he couldn't do. It's not a real savings.
You don't say, which is key to the entire bill. There's a bunch of things in there that either were never going to happen, are never going to happen now, or have already sunsetted, or Biden already stopped, that they want to count as savings that they want to use to justify this, the tax break, the tax cut. Assholes. Never going to, I mean, this is the same thing Doge is doing with its fake cuts.
We know that the bill will add probably, even if you say the taxes don't add to the debt, which I accept, the bill in the first years has $400 billion worth of new spending on border and also on military. So we know in the first couple of years there will be an addition to the deficit. It may be made up in the later years, but that is yet to be determined. But none of that really is my objection to the bill. Those are minor things, and I actually could vote for it as is, even as imperfect as it is. I could vote for it, but I can't vote to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. And the reason is this.
Because they'll spend it.
The debt this year is going to be over $2 trillion, $2.2 trillion. And people say, oh, that's Biden's fault. Well, it was Biden's fault until March of this year when the Republicans, not me, but most of the Republicans voted to continue the Biden spending levels in a continuing resolution in
Thanks, Chuck Schumer.
March of 2025. That's what we live under now are the GOP spending levels, minus me and a few others. So that year ends at the end of September. The debt will be $2.2 trillion this year. That's all on the Republicans. If Republicans also vote to extend the debt ceiling by $5 trillion, then really we lose the power of the argument in our moral standing in saying this is a bunch
Oh, that's adorable.
of Democrat problems. Democrats are deficit and spend, big spenders. It's not Republicans. If the deficit now is completely owned by Republicans. So I've
Yep, and if it goes up under Republicans, as it's going to do.
offered the opposite. I have said that rather than give Congress, which is reckless with spending and has no good history other than adding $36 trillion to the debt, don't give them a debt ceiling that lasts 2 years. Don't give them $5 trillion worth, because they will spend it and they will borrow it. Give them 3 months worth. So I've offered this
Yeah, that'll work.
as an amendment, and I would accept it and vote for it if it were part of the bill.
Wait, you would, hold on. Whoa, this is breaking news. You would accept and vote for your own amendment. Cool story, bro.
3 months is an extraordinary amount, though, $500 billion. And you say, well, it's inconvenient to keep voting on it. Well, yeah, it's also inconvenient to borrow $36 trillion and have $1 trillion in interest. So I'd make them.
Yeah, but Trump wants this to go away. He wants a giant blank check and for you not to matter. He wants Charlie Kirk not to matter. He wants the entire Republican Senate and House to not matter. He wants $5 trillion to spend as he sees fit in any direction he does, because if you can push the debt ceiling up automatically $5 trillion, you can just he could just use it as a giant slush fund. That's exactly what this is for, asshole.
Address the issue. So in 3 months, let's say we gave them 3 months worth of borrowing potential, $500 billion. It'd expire
This will never fucking happen.
about the end of September. What comes at the end of September? Another big, beautiful bill to fund the government. It's going to be an omnibus or a continuing resolution. It'll be all the bills crammed together. It's a terrible way to run government. But then we would ask them at that point, all right, you promised us you were going to do better. And once again, this isn't an accusation against the president. This is an accusation against GOP leadership on both sides.
Sorry, GOP leadership on both sides?
I'm saying I don't.
This goes back to the Greg Kelly thing. Greg Kelly is calling it. There's a rift in MAGA, in the GOP, that is irreconcilable, it seems.
Believe them or trust them. So in 3 months, we'd get another bite at the apple and we'd say, all right, what have you done?
Yeah, you can fuck around 3 months from now. Jesus Christ. It's the same shit with the tariffs. You just want to punt. You know you can't get your shit passed. So you want these, let's just, just pull fucking paper towels out of the dispenser until we run out. And we'll just pretend it will never end. And we'll just, if we do it in short order, instead of going, how many do we actually have in there? Okay, we're going to need to borrow some more because we're going to run out. We know how many we're going to need over the next year. So instead of living like fucking adults and knowing how to pay your bills or create a budget, you just want to slowly eat this shit out.
They would say, oh, we're going to do it next time. And that's what they say. Right now, from Speaker Johnson, we hear he's going to be conservative after the 2026 elections. The Senate has made it not just $4 trillion in borrowing, they want to do $5 trillion in borrowing, and they've explicitly told us it's to get through the 2026 elections without talking about the debt. All of these things where conservatives would oppose, but now because they support the president so much, they're willing to look the other way. I like the president. I like him personally. I was his biggest defender against 2 impeachments. We'll do it again. I've supported his nomination.
Yes, we will, because he's going to get impeached. Yeah.
But I'm just not going to go against all principle to support $5 trillion in borrowing because I don't know who we would be or where we would be of a movement if nobody opposes this.
You know about Patriot Mobile and what?
Oh, shit. It goes right into the ad. I want to see his response to a little bit of this, and then we'll bug out.
So part of the problem, and I agree with a lot of what you said, Senator, is that
I think the worst thing about Patriot Mobile is all the Lee Greenwood ringtones.
the counter argument is that we don't have the votes in the House or the Senate to do this. The moderates will not play ball with any dramatic spending adjustments, and we have to play with a very slim majority. I imagine your counter argument.
I'm sorry, a what? I thought you guys had a mandate, a clear mandate after the election. Huge mandate.
Argument is that, hey, maybe it's time for those of us that are fiscal conservatives start wielding the same power that these moderates wield. What would your reply be to the fact that it might not be possible in this reconciliation bill to get some of the demands that you are articulating?
Right. And I'm not looking for hundreds or dozens of demands. I'm looking for one. Separate out the debt ceiling and put it in a different...
Yeah, the one that will pay for all the stuff that they want to do. Jesus. I only want one, look, we're going to negotiate this. Jesus.
Bill, and I can vote.
Well, I only have one. There's only one difference between me and you. I think you shouldn't be alive, and you don't care whether I am or not. So that's just the the split between the two of these things, you know. So it's just why don't we just flip a coin on it, see who gets shot?
For this.
So stupid.
It's still unknown whether there are enough of us. I think the counting and the tally depends on who has the courage to say no. If there were 4 conservatives in the House or 4 conservatives in the Senate who would say no to the debt ceiling, it would be taken off in a heartbeat. They would just negotiate. They're not negotiating because
They can't, though. No, they wouldn't just do it and just negotiate and that would be over. For fuck's sake, man, if you take it out, he can't pay for the stuff he wants to do. And it's all spend, spend, spend. You can't take that part out without taking out all the spending, or you're like, it's just stupid. Like this, it's bizarre. Like there's no way to do the spending he wants to do for the military alone, unless they raise the debt ceiling. So they either have to do that now or in September, and he wants to do it now. And if they're never going to be able to do it in fucking September, like this is so stupid.
it's mostly me at this point. Now, Ron Johnson has expressed some of the same concerns on the spending and maybe a little bit on the debt ceiling as well. But there aren't 4 at this point, so they will not negotiate. In fact, they've chosen really to go full bore campaign mode against me. So they aren't really caring at all about whether or not I ever cooperate with the White House again, because they've chosen to smear and lie about me throughout all the social media outlets by paying these influencers to attack me. But I don't think, if they know me at all, they apparently have misjudged me to think that somehow spreading lies about me and pillaring me will somehow cause me to be chastened and, lick the boot. So I'm not going to do that.
No.
And I think what you'll find is that over time, people are going to discover that the debt keeps going. The debt is going to go on, and it's going to get worse, and there's going to be a crisis in this country.
And there needs on and on and on and on. The debt goes on and on. The debt goes on and on and on and on and on. You know, the debt will go on. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can say or sing that will stop it and keep it from flying away. The debt goes on. The debt goes on. And on and on and on. The debt goes on. Sorry, that was wrong of me. That was so wrong. I shouldn't mock Rand Paul's bullshittery in that way. I apologize.
to be a remnant of conservatives who actually still are fiscally conservative and can argue from that position.
So the argument against the debt, and correct me if I'm wrong, Senator, is that if we peel out the debt ceiling, then potentially it would need 60 votes as a standalone vote, and it would give a lot more power to Chuck Schumer, to then we'd have other concessions and other liberal boondoggle wishes or aims. Is that true?
There's no history of Democrats ever voting against a debt ceiling. They always vote for the debt ceiling. They love and enjoy debt. The modern monetary theory they talk so much about
Oh, come on, man. Pull that thread.
is just spend, spend, spend. They know it has to go up. Many of them, Elizabeth Warren agrees with President Trump. She'd like to have no debt ceiling, but she will always vote to raise it. And so if you put a bill on the floor and you said, this is it, it's either this or default, are you going to vote to raise the debt ceiling? They all will. And they'll vote for any amount, too.
By the way, that's not this bill. That's September. That's not this bill. You don't have to, the default doesn't come if you don't raise the debt ceiling here. It's in September. So again, that's why he wants to punt it 3 months. Wrong.
For 10 trillion. If they want to do 10 trillion and we can go through the whole term, the whole next term of President Trump and never have to borrow again, Democrats will all vote for that. And people say, oh, no, they don't like Donald Trump. They won't do it. Well, they voted to raise the debt ceiling in his first term. And historically, the debt ceiling has gone up.
Yeah, but we were also in charge of the House, I think, at that point.
I don't know, maybe 100.
We had control over how it was being spent. And he wasn't deploying the fucking Marines to an American city.
times in the last, maybe not 100 times, let's say 50 times in the last 30 years. Each time it's gone up, it's been all the Democrats vote for it every time, and it's been the big government Republicans. But to me, raising the debt ceiling is a day of shame, and they walk down to the front of the floor of the Senate or to the well of the House, and they have to admit that they are the big spenders. So the big spenders on the Republican side always vote to raise the debt ceiling.
Which is, again, like all the reason why Democrats don't have to vote for it at all. They could just, like, because the CR is continuing right now till September. They don't need this bill. They're not worried about the taxes going back up to where they were.
And the Democrats. But now you're going to change the dynamic where it's going to be all Republicans voting for raise the debt ceiling. And what you'll wind up with is no Republicans left who can argue with a straight face that it's the Democrats' fault because they.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly how it should go. Thank you for just basically handing that win to Chuck and to Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah, that's precisely how this will go and should go.
They will own the debt. From now on.
Yeah, no. Democrats can heal some of this stuff if these guys throw themselves over this barrel and pass this thing. When everybody bitches about how fast the debt is going up, Democrats can come in and reform all of it, and Republicans will have to vote because it's a problem of their own making.
The Republicans will own the debt and have no argument against Democrats being the big spenders.
Yeah. And fuck you. I'm okay with that.
Because they will own the debt. I think it's more worrisome than people can imagine.
I'm not worried.
Unless they've really thought this through.
So a couple minutes remaining here, Senator, and I agree. I believe the national debt is a crisis to our country. Would you agree that the invasion under Joe Biden, the immigration we've seen, is also a national crisis facing America?
Yeah, I guess if you scoop out all the people who are working under the table and weren't making a living wage, that were providing goods and services to the American people, and those people leave and have to be replaced with workers who expect a living wage and benefits and some sort of upwardly mobile trajectory within the business that they're working in, which will drive up the price of everything and increase inflation inexorably, and sort of in lockstep with what happened to Japan in the early 90s. Sure, I guess that sounds, knock yourself out.
Yep.
And so where would you rank that and balance that between this big, beautiful bill and the fiscal concerns?
I think you can both. I think you can do both. So I'm against the 8 million people or so that Biden letting come in the country. I'm against open borders. I think we should do more than we have been doing.
Yep, there's all 8 million of them. Don't let them fool you that that's just one guy. That's an optical illusion.
But
there's 8 million people there, and one ICE dude handling them all by himself because they don't have the funding.
I can't just quit being a fiscal conservative because you said, well, the border needs more security. It does. So I'll give you a very specific example. They said to us, we want to fence the remaining 1,000 miles of the southern border. President Trump and others have fenced about, probably 700 miles or so. So there's about 1,200 left. A lot of it's mountains. So you might be able to fence 1,000 more. The Border Patrol website says it costs $6.5 million per mile. You multiply that by 1,000 and you get $6.5 billion. Well, the bill is asking for $46.5 billion. So what are they going to do? Build a wall between us and Canada too? I mean, you ought to at least
probably
have to justify your numbers.
Well, yeah, Lucius, it says fence, question mark, that, yeah. The reason they're going to do a fence is because when they build a wall, they actually build an access road on the Mexican side. I pointed this out many times. On the Mexican side of the border, you have to flatten the land out, which makes it easier to find, to walk down it till you find a gap or a tunnel and go underneath it. Whereas before you had to climb, rough terrain to get over it. And if they just put fencing up, it's way harder to get through, especially if it's particularly high and hard to climb, and they can monitor it, and if they have electrical wire running through it so they can see if anybody tries to cut it, blah, blah, blah. But if you try to make a wall all along that thing, you also create access points because you can't monitor all of it all the time. It's so fucking stupid. Yeah, we should have, VJ Kodak, exactly right. They should have signed the border bill when they had the chance.
There's been no justification. Everybody says, you're not the president, be quiet, we didn't elect you, all this crazy stuff on the internet. And it's like, well, somebody shouldn't push back and do the math and say,
Nope, you're not allowed. This is this dude is a king, and he and the land are one. You don't get a say in this, dumb fuck. You flushed democracy down the goddamn toilet when you supported him at all. So everybody on that side who's pissed off that they're catching hell from maggots online because they don't walk in lockstep with the president. I got news for you. Nobody voted for leadership from Trump. They want him to be a monarch.
Well, it doesn't add up. You want 46 billion, and we're getting 6.5 billion on this thing. And so, yeah, we should do the math on this. They want to hire 8,000 new agents. I'm saying hire 4,000 new agents. I'm saying let's get started and not have a permanent army of people sitting around. The border's been largely controlled by the president by sheer willpower, and I give him all.
Not by sheer willpower. It's unfunded. They're using emergency financing to do it. That's why you need to pass a bill. He didn't do it by sheer willpower. He appropriated other funds from other areas to pay for National Guard and military troops at the border. Jesus Christ.
All the credit. He came in and by sheer willpower and various threats and bullying of other countries, he's controlled the border. It shows that it could have been done under Biden and he never did it. But now that it's controlled, shouldn't we at least think about the cost and not?
Sorry, no. You have not paid for it yet. This is emergency funding. Unless it's in there, you can't have any of this. If the control by the way, if this wall requires people watching it all the fucking time, what was the point of the wall in the first place?
Say, oh, we're conservative, except for when it comes to the border when we're for unlimited spending. Same with the military. The military has been evading its caps for a long time. It went up 3% last year. They added some more on. Now they want to add 150.
Oh, did you just call Charlie Kirk a moron? I heard it.
The untold story of this bill is this big, beautiful bill is a secret plot by Lindsey Graham and others to explode the military caps. They just want more military money. They want more tanks. They want more play. They want everything to please.
So does Trump. What are you talking about?
The military-industrial complex. And I think this is the untold story of this bill.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Yep. There is no end in sight to the fighting about this. And I told you guys that if for every 10 votes they gain on one side of an issue, they lose 20 on the other side. And that's what this shuffle is all about.